Hey guys, this is RobJamWeb here for Wax-A-Disc Music, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few different things with the channel for 2020. I'm going to do a lot of record reviews, vinyl, needle drops. I'm going to do some new different sort of tutorials and mix it up a bit and make it a little bit more exciting rather than just doing straightforward tutorials for the YouTube channel. So what I did was, what I've been doing lately is I've been starting to buy records again. And it's something that I've done sporadically over the years, but over the last few months I've started to buy a few more than normal. Now, back in the mid 2000s, I spent probably a year or two selling off my whole collection and got rid of all my hip hop, mostly all my soul, all my funk, all my disco, all my house, everything that I had on vinyl, all my rock and pop, everything that I kept over the years, and I spent the next 10 years regretting it. So what I've done over the last few months, I've started to buy records again, but only buying stuff that I never picked up originally at the time, or stuff I've never seen before. So I'm not going to be buying stuff that I've had because all my classics I've kept anyway. The majority of the stuff that I've kept is stuff that I really want. So I suppose I've sold all the iconic stuff, that I had, almost a lot of my, a lot of my Masters at Work records and my Todd Terry stuff, all the things that, were staples during the 90s. I got rid of all that kind of stuff. But I've started buying disco and boogie and funk again, just for pleasure, really. And I went to this massive record shop the other week, and it's a shop called Langley Mill Records in the East Midlands, here in between Derby and Nottingham in the UK. And it's a shop in this really cut-off remote village in the middle of nowhere, practically. And there's just this shop, it's just massive, and it's just full of records, anything you want they've got in there. And they've got this huge funk and soul section, and it just goes on forever. It's just got rows and rows of it. It took me 2 hours to go through just the funk 12 inches. And I didn't even get around to going through the house or the hip-hop stuff, which is what I wanted to do. So anyway, I went through this. I spent about 30 quid. I bought a few records, and I'm going to go through them with you now. And here we go. The first one that I bought is this, and I paid 2 quid for this. And the sleeve alone is worth 2 quid in my eyes. And it's on Pickwick International Records, PIP. And it's called The Little Drummer Boy by a group called Lion, which is bizarre. And it's one of those records, it's labelled Special Disco Version, which was produced in 1975. So it's kind of on the cusp of when disco, everything became labelled disco by, 76, 77 onwards. Everyone jumped on the bandwagon. But this is like probably, on the cusp of labelling something a disco version, I suppose. The record is dreadful. It's hideous. But it's got this brilliant little drum break, which I'm going to sample for a track at some point myself. So let's just quickly play that, and I'll give you a gist of the track. It's just boring, horrible. But it's got this great little drum break here. Bit there, and then on the flip side there's a track called Sweet Georgia Brown, which again is an up-tempo disco track, 130, but it's got this great little solo here. Sample that, that's quite a good little thing which could be recycled in some form. So yeah, so that was the first one. Not the greatest record, but the sleeve and the break are worth 2 quid as far as I'm concerned. Next up is a track which is in the wrong sleeve, came in a phonogram sleeve, but it's a UK label, I think, called Butterfly Records, and it was made in 1980, and it's a cover version of Curtis Mayfield's Move On Up, and it's got that real fast disco tempo. It's quite upbeat, and it's in the style of John Davis Orchestra, which has got that kind of piano sort of thing, So I'll play that for you now. Piano at the start. Very John Davis. And then it's got this great disco break at the end. was worth a quid. And the flip side is a track called Destination Theme, and it's not too good, but it's got some nice drum breaks again in it, which could be sampled. So this is the breaks. So yeah, so that's that one. Destination Theme came out in 1980, and that's the Move On Up track. Next up is Bootsy Collins, Bootzilla, and the Hollywood Squares track, which is one of my favourites off his Player of the Year album. It's one of those tracks that's just those real sleazy sort of, funk records, which obviously everything that Parliament, Funkadelic and all those guys did was just pure quality. So this is one of those great tracks. In the sunshine.
Well, of course, this is no Hollywood Square. I'm putting the player play. Of course, I'm a player.
That's the best bit. And obviously on the B-side is Boots of the track, and this is a real raucous, crazy, out there Bootsy Collins record. So yeah, so that was that. Paid £4 for that, which is a bargain really for a Bootsy 12. You don't come across them very often. Next up is a track from the legendary Solar Records from Los Angeles. Now in the late 70s and 80s, these guys released stuff for The Whispers and Shalimar, and they had a group called Dynasty on there, and they made a track on here called I've Just Begun to Love You. And this is a great boogie record, post-disco sort of record. With a really good boogie lick to it. Good breaks at the end, some good solos. So yeah, so that's Dynasty, I've Just Begun to Love You, came out in 1980 on Solar Records. I paid £1 for that, so bargain. Next up, this is a track that I never got hold of on vinyl. I don't know why, but it's got the instrumental on as well. And this is Fantasy, You're Too Late, came out on Epic. And it's in great condition. And I paid £2 for this. And it was sampled by Hustlers Convention on one of their records on Stress Records back in 93, 94, something like that. But it's just a great, great stomping sort of boogie track. And I've always liked this record, but I never got around to getting it. It's the little synth bit that they sampled. In a minute. That bit there. It was sampled by Hustlers Convention. And it's one of those ones I never got hold of at the time, so yeah, got hold of that one, that's a good one. Next up are 3 records that I did buy for nostalgia reasons. The first one is Tation, and the track on this is Read My Mind, and it's the B-side of this. The A-side of this is not pleasant, but the B-side is Read My Mind, and it was a track that I originally had on a cassette called the Def Jam Kick It Sampler album or something like that. And I had that, and it had a mixture of all the Def Jam stuff on there. So there was Soul, and then there was Orange Jones, and then there was Public Enemy, and this was on there. And I saw it the week, and I thought, wow, it's in immaculate condition for a couple of quid. And it's one of those great electro sort of moody soul records from the 1986, and it's brilliant. just bought it for that because I used to have that on a cassette. But it's just one of those really cool little moody soul tunes that I liked from back in the day. And that's Tation and Def Jam Records. Next up, I paid £1 for this. The Jets, Crush on You. Right? Again, excellent condition. £1. What are you going to do? And then on this, it's got, for those who know exactly the origins of this record, are what formed Alan Breaks' running intro track. And I bought it for that because I never had an original copy of this. I've only ever had the sample of this on a cappella anonymous album somewhere along the line. So it's worth it just for the instrumental, which is this.
Yeah, sing the sound.
Yeah, I bought it just for the a cappella intro, and on the B side it's got the full a cappella as well with the verse chorus on there as well. So that's worth having for a quid. Next up was another nostalgic buy, Electric Boogaloo, the soundtrack from the movie Breakdance 2. Awful movie, but when I went to see it at the cinema when I was about 8 or 9 with my mum, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then I had the soundtrack for that on a cassette, which I've still got. Basically I bought this because it's in immaculate condition, £1, and it's got the instrumental of Electric Boogaloo on it. And I love that track anyway, just for obviously for nostalgic reasons, for childhood reasons. But the instrumental, I've never heard it, so it's nice to get this. Plenty to sample in that. There's absolutely plenty to sample in that. So I bought that for nostalgic reasons for a quid anyway, and I thought, yeah, I love that. So that was that one. And then I bought a few albums. I bought, I've never owned an original copy of this. I owned a repressing of it about 20 years ago, but I sold that. And I picked up an original the other day for a £5. Kool and the Gang Light of Worlds, which is probably my favourite funk album of all time. And an original gatefold sleeve as well, which is great. And I paid a £5 for it, and the condition is not bad at all. I'd say it was probably bordering on good to very good, in good nick. And it's got all the great records on there. You know, Summer Madness is the main one on there, but it's got You Don't Have to Change on there, which is a short track, which could have been a lot longer, I suppose. This one. It's got Summer Madness, which is obviously, and then on the flip side it's got Fruit Man and Street Corner Symphony, and then it's got it's a great album, and it's, you know, most people associate Kool and the Gang with that early 80s stuff they did, you know, Get Down on It and all that rubbish. I'm not a fan of that stuff, but the stuff they produced from 69 to 75, 76 is incredible. You know, it's probably some of the best funk music ever made. So that's that. Light of Worlds, an original pressing for a £5. Can't grumble at that. And then I also picked up another album that I only ever owned on CD, and I never got an original pressing of this. And it's George Benson, In Flight, an original US pressing, and it's got the track on it, The World Is a Ghetto. And it's what Thomas Bangalter from Daft Punk sampled for his Tracks on the Rocks EP on the Rule label. Was it Spiral Scratch? I think it was Tracks on the Rocks. I think it was, or Spiral Scratch. I can't remember which one. Spiral Scratch, definitely. And it's this little sample. Recognise the Spinal Scratch, sorry, you'll recognise that. Great little track, but the whole album is brilliant. It's one of my favourite jazz funk sort of albums ever anyway, that. And I never owned it on CD, but to pick it up for £3 in really good condition, I was well pleased. So I was happy with that. And finally, it was the last one I bought, and is Munich Machine and Get on the Funk Train. Classic Giorgio Moroder. And this is in absolutely mint condition. It's beautifully well looked after, seeing as though it came out in 1977. And obviously those who are familiar, if you're familiar with DJ Duke Blow Your Whistle, you'll recognise the intro straight away, which is this.
Hey, welcome aboard the funk. Okay, let's have some wow.
It's a massively long track. I mean, I don't know how long it actually is. How long is this record? It doesn't quite say, but it is a really long record, and it's well worth having. Full of samples, and on the B side is a medley of Donna Summer's tracks and whatever, which is a lot of up-tempo stuff. But for I paid £8 for that, and it's in great condition. You probably pick them up for about £5 online, but you still got to pay the postage, haven't you? So that was that. So that's the end of this video. There were my latest finds in a record shop. Some great little bits there, well worth having. And thank you very much for watching this video. I'm going to do a few more where I'm going to, buy some stuff, and then we'll go through it and do some needle drops and stuff. So thank you very much. Don't forget to leave your comments at the bottom of the video and subscribe to the channel also. Thank you and goodbye.